It's not often that a mobile game comes along that grabs my attention quite like Marvel Snap has. It's the card game that's pulling on a lot of ideas from existing titles while delivering it all in a fun and accessible format that allows players to not just slowly develop their skills, but also become more invested in their custom decks and loadouts. As the name suggests, your deck of cards is derived from the huge roster of characters from Marvel Comics, and extends far beyond what many people will be familiar with from the cinematic universe. Despite it being a free-to-play game, its monetization practices are relatively benign and allows for players to earn a lot of progression out the gate without any need for investment, and frankly, outside of the core battle pass, I don't see why you would throw money at it either. Developed by Second Dinner and released for free on iOS and Android with a PC build in beta over on Steam, the game plays as a mishmash of mobile games such as Clash Royale, with the deck collecting and building of games like Hearthstone. It actually reminds me more of the failed Valve card game Artifact. All that said, there's a lot of pedigree behind it given the studio itself was founded by former Hearthstone developers. In each match, two players are vying for the control of territory, with 3 lanes up for grabs where one player must win 2 of the 3 lanes to land the victory. Each card you play has a power value that helps increase your score in a given lane. Plus, many of the individual cards have their own unique abilities that allow you to manipulate the current game state in ways that work to your advantage. Similarly, each lane has the potential to add mutators either to that lane or to the entire game during the match. Hence, players have to carefully consider where to play their cards in order to achieve victory. But the game balances this further by limiting how much you can use them in a given match and forces you to consider the energy loadout of your deck as well. Each player brings in a deck of 12 cards, and you can play as many as you like in a given turn provided you have the resources. Each match is broken up into 6 turns, and in each turn you are only given energy up to the turn number. So for example, in the first turn you only have 1 energy. While each card has a power value, it also has an energy value, which is the cost of playing that card. Hence you can only play cards with a cost value of 1 in the first turn, and so on. This proves to be an issue if you don't balance your deck effectively, given there's no value in filling up with 6 energy cards, like Odin, Apocalypse or the Hulk, given you can only play them once and in the final round. As mentioned, your deck has 12 cards, but your active hand is only a couple of cards at once, and if you don't have a card you can play in a given round, you effectively forfeit the right to play a card for that turn. So you need to make sure you have the right makeup in your deck so you have the right cards when you need them. And this is where the card effects also come in, given there are a variety of different abilities they carry. Some of these help address the issues with your opening hand, such as Quicksilver and Domino, who always appear in your hand on the first and second round, guaranteeing you have cards to play. Meanwhile, other characters have a range of different effects, with Jessica Jones's power doubling if undisturbed for a turn, Nightcrawler being able to teleport between lanes, or the Scarlet Witch being able to transform the effects of a given lane. For some cards, the ability only occurs when they're originally played, while for others they stack with every future turn. Hence a character like Bishop or the Punisher can be played in an earlier round, but actually get stronger if the right conditions arise as the match progresses. Meanwhile, there are a handful of cards that have no effects or constraints at all, and you simply play them as is. While this works out well for the Hulk, given how powerful he is, I feel like they did poor Cyclops dirty, who is arguably the only notable superhero who isn't max power and doesn't have any special ability whatsoever. And this speaks to a fun element of a lot of the cards and their movesets. After just a couple of games, you're unlocking new cards, and from that you can start to create new decks. A lot of cards complement one another in useful ways, and part of the fun of Marvel Snap is experimenting and finding those interesting combinations. A lot of them are not immediately obvious, and some combinations only work well in specific lane conditions or circumstances, but that's part of the fun. Given that each game is relatively short, you can typically finish a match in a couple of minutes, the game strongly encourages experimentation and trying out that one card swap in your deck to see what improvements it yields. Perhaps interestingly, from a game design perspective, there's less of an emphasis on damaging the deck of your opponent, but more on manipulating the conditions in your favour and playing specific card combinations off of one another. Yes, there are some cards that will destroy a card in your opponent's hand, steal a card from their deck, or sabotage their cards in a given lane, but for a game that's about superheroes and villains, in which combat between these factions is a given, the fact that these are more of an exception to the rule rather than the norm is kinda refreshing. given it means you're less likely to have players feel cheated in how they lost a given match because the opponent simply made their deck unplayable. In fact, I recently found myself in a phase of the meta where I was actually creating decks in which I rely on the likes of Blade, Carnage and Swordmaster to destroy my own cards instead, given cards such as Nova, Wolverine, Sabretooth and Apocalypse can be destroyed strategically such that they can guarantee victory at a later turn. Speaking of, it's worth raising as a long-time comic book reader, there's a lot of fun to be had in just enjoying the cards themselves. Not just because you're creating your own deck themes, like a set of Avengers or teams of X-Men from different eras, but also I enjoyed learning what each card does. Full credit to the designers, many of the cards' abilities are clever nods to the characters themselves, and you can see the effort put into making characters feel like they accurately reflect the qualities of a given superhero. This, as a diehard X-Men fan, is what makes the Cyclops card equally frustrating as it is hilarious. The only other aspect of the core game worth raising is the snap, as in the game's name. The game runs a simple bluffing mechanic in that you have a progression or ranking currency that you earn or lose by playing a given game. A vanilla match will cost 1 unit of this currency per player, with the winner taking the spoils. However, at any time, one player can trigger a snap, which doubles the bet, and the opposing player can snap back. And this can be done all the way up to a total cost of 8. Players can also retreat from a match if it's clear that your hand is not working as envisaged, which is useful given the opponent is snapping given they know they're holding a good hand, or they're straight up bluffing and trying to catch you out. Personally, I'm pretty bad at going tit for tat, immediately snapping back at any player that snaps at me, given I'm often quite conservative and seldom snap first, and by comparison a lot of people snap as a flex rather than out of confidence in their actual hand or strategy, particularly in the earlier rounds. Now outside of all of the gameplay there is the overall progression and monetization, and after playing for several hours I'm writing this having not spent any money. The one thing that kept me with the game longer than I expected is that card unlocks are not part of the monetization framework. New cards are unlocked by increasing your collector rank, which is only achieved by leveling up cards. Leveling up cards, which is a purely cosmetic aspect of the game and has no effect on a card's in-game power, is achieved using a credits currency you earn from challenges you complete and with free credits provided each day. Sure, you can purchase them indirectly, but I seldom felt the need, and frankly the credits cost too much using real money to be worth it. The main purchase currency, which is gold, is only used for unlocking card variants, different versions of the same card with a different art attached to them. Sadly, I found most of these variants actually quite ugly, either using cartoonish or pixel art aesthetics that I didn't care for. There's also the Battle Pass, which gives you more card variants, credits, and gold, but again, I haven't felt compelled to buy any of it. I reached a collector rank just shy of 300 before writing this, and I don't feel like investing money would progress me any further at this point, and for a free-to-play economy, I think that's a pretty good sign. Interestingly, I read that in beta the game actually had loot boxes in it, which received strong negative feedback, and they subsequently removed them. This is actually quite noticeable in hindsight, given the monetization doesn't feel particularly predatory and is arguably quite conservative. It's all perhaps a reaction to that early response. And so that brings my musings on Marvel Snap to a close. It's surprisingly fun, and in fact I've been using this week as I write this to try and pull myself away from it a little, given it's eating into my gaming time elsewhere. Critically, it's impacting the time I'm spending on recording for YouTube. So yeah, I need to stop playing this so I can get on with making videos. Oh boy. Thanks for watching this episode of Smoke and Mirrors, and do let us know your thoughts on Marvel Snap as well. I know some of you in the community started playing it already. Take it easy, folks.